Good morning, Sheila. How are you?
Wayne, I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Exceptionally well today because of the
Yay.
verb we have. Yes.
Okay.
All right. And welcome everyone to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we explore the fascinating world of verbs and their impact on our daily lives. Join us each week as we delve into the different ways verbs shape our language and influence our activities as we attempt to make a positive difference in our world, one verb at a time. And Sheila, this is episode 120. Oh,
Congratulations, Wayne.
congratulations, Sheila.
Thank you.
Congratulations to us. Yeah.
Hey.
Yes, I was talking to a group yesterday and they were saying, "Hey, you have a podcast, right?" I said, "Yeah, yes, we do." And I said, "And tomorrow we're going to have our next podcast." And someone said, "Well, how many episodes have you guys done?" And I said, "Well, tomorrow's going to be 120." And they said, "What? 120?"
120. Yep.
And they're
Just
they're like, well, that's over 2 years because 52 and 52 is 104. Yes, it is. So
that's right.
going on year three. How about that?
Yay.
And Sheila, what is our verb for today?
Today's verb is to contribute. And I can't wait to hear what has made you so excited about this verb. But how about I give one definition and you give the million other definitions that you have no doubt researched?
Okay, we
Okay.
can do that.
My favorite is to say or do or give something to help make it successful.
Okay, excellent. And I only have four
Oh,
today, so pretty close to what you said. One, to give something, especially money, in order to achieve something together with other people. Number two, to write articles for a newspaper, magazine, or a book. Number three, to be one of the reasons why something happens. I like that one.
that's good.
And the last one that I have is to add new plans or ideas or help make improvements to something so that it becomes more valuable or, as you said, successful. And
Great.
and do you have and we have one trivia question today, correct?
It's your trivia question. So go for it.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to do a little bit of a different trivia question. I'm going to talk about a leadership trivia question. And so the question is, what is the best way to contribute to team goals? Now, that doesn't have to be the leadership, doesn't have to be CEO, it doesn't have to be the leader of the division. It can be the team chief or the team lead or whatever, but someone who is basically nurturing, guiding, helping that team. What is the best way to contribute to team goals? And I will answer that question at the end of our show.
Perfect.
And Sheila, okay, I'm gonna put the cover on my passion and excitement right now about the what I thought about this verb.
Okay.
What did you think of the verb contribute when we first talked about doing it?
I can't, I am of the belief that one's life is better when one is contributing to life. And I'll go into more
Mm,
detail about that later. So I see this as a word that we could be using every day.
okay.
How about you?
I thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I love this word. And when we came up with contribute, I thought immediately of what my passion is, and my passion is lifelong learning, ever learning, leading, following, being that as one of the definitions that was given for the word, to be one of the reasons why something happens. I always wanted to be that go-to guy. Give me the ball and I will make things
Right.
happen. Yes, and so I was compelled to talk about this. I did some research, and as I did the research, figured out pretty quickly that Jennifer Milius and I had already done this research. so
Excellent.
so I put the research away on the books that I was looking at and the internet, and I just went back to what Jennifer and I were talking about in our books. So I'm excited. This is just really, this is my day.
Yay.
Yay. And so not to take up all the time and talk, please, I'm going to let you go first and talk about what you want to talk about, and I'll come in with sound bites as you need me to do. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
So the first thing I want to talk about is I want to get this out of the way because I've got quotes and I'm doing it for each quote. I'm going to talk more about how that adds to contributing to life and society.
Ah,
But I want to get this out of the way at first because a lot of times you think money when you think of to contribute. And I want to talk about at least one website called charitywatch.org that really helps you give thoughtfully by identifying what charities are actual charities and
mm.
differentiating those from scams.
Oh,
Scams
yes.
especially get popular for
Yes.
senior citizens or during a some kind of a disaster. So charitywatch.org is one of the resources that are really good to use when you are asked for a donation. So
Nice. Thank you
that's
for
out of the
that.
way. Yes. Then the next thing I want to talk about, if I may, is my first quote.
Absolutely.
Nelson Mandela, South African statesman, said, "There are so many men and women who hold no distinctive positions, but whose contribution towards the development of society has been enormous." And different
Wow.
from usual.
Wow.
I love that. And oftentimes in the past, I have just given a quote and said, "Isn't that nice?" But I want to dig down a little bit on each of these quotes now and say why they're meaningful to me and how this builds towards making our world a better place.
Oh, excellent. I'm listening.
Okay. So, in reference to what Nelson has said, my kind of from that was how do we contribute to society in big or small ways? And they're just hundreds of things from donating blood to volunteering your time, your skills, your talents to help organizations or nonprofits carry out their mission. And I really loved how you talked about your passions and your mission, because that's a really good way for a person to springboard their start in figuring out the best way to contribute. But even things like supporting your local businesses and mentoring and tutoring others, which I know is also a big objective of yours. So you
Yes.
really are living this out.
I
But
I am sitting here with a huge smile on my face as you're talking.
I hope I'm not taking away what you're going to
No,
say. But the
absolutely not.
acts of kindness, another way to contribute to society in ways that make a difference, even if your name is never put in the headlines. But I have two conclusions from this, and then I'll turn it over to you. Number one, small steps matter.
Oh,
And number
yes.
two, make it a part of what you do and who you are on a daily basis to give, to contribute. So thank you.
Thank you. You know what? 27 minutes. I wish we had 137
Uh,
minutes today.
this is a good word, isn't it?
This is an exciting verb for me. I'm eager to engage this verb
Hmm.
because it has, so, like you said, Nelson Mandela, it has so
Hmm.
many nuances that some of us have
Yes.
learned over time
Yes.
while others still don't see it or get it. And
Mm.
that I find amazing. But because we contribute to many activities, as you said, charities, organizations, and
Mhm.
clubs,
Mhm.
and the list goes on. However, in our hopes to make those contributions, we will we will help make a difference that we can see every time we contribute what you suggested, the talents, the experience,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
knowledge, the whatever it is that we have as an individual. If we bring that to the table, to the team, to the organization, and if they listen, take the time to listen, oh my
Mhm.
goodness, we can reach heights that were never attainable in the past. Just absolutely wonderful. So anyway, I'm going to go off into my lists here. I have a professional level, and I have a individual level, and I also have a follower level. And so I'm going to talk about the leadership first.
Okay.
um, as a university professor, I hoped that my contributions in the classroom, I hope they influenced the thought processes in mine and my students' approaches to new ideas and concepts. And here's here's a good example of that. We were talking about change and culture change and making a difference and doing things differently, but still having the same impact that we're garnered by other techniques. And someone said, well, how about if we write the final?
Oh.
And I paused and I said, okay, Wayne, they're stretching you, they're challenging you, this is exactly what I'm trying to do with them. And I said, tell me more. And so they convinced me that they could write a final that was, one, worthy of the course, two, worthy of my acceptance of it. And they also said, and if you would like to add anything to this end of the discussion, would you do that? I said, okay, here's my thought process. I will let you write the final. I get to add 10 questions to that final. I also have the right to veto any question that you have in there. And they said, and we all agreed to that. And I thought,
Okay.
wow, okay, this is going to be interesting kind of thing. And I was hoping my bosses weren't listening, but
Right.
So they wrote a final and they presented it to me. I read the final. I took the final myself, and I vetoed a couple questions because they were just, doggone gimmies. And I submitted it back to them and said, okay, here's my thoughts. What do you think? To the group that wrote the final. And they said, okay, we can do this. Now, I had all these horror thoughts in my mind that everybody's going to get an A. Guess what? Everyone did not get an A.
Oh, okay.
And it was a multiple choice question. We had people who got B minuses and a C plus on that final.
Wow.
Which meant that they did not study. And I thought, wow, well, this is really cool. So it was a different technique. It was a different cultural kind of a change.
Right.
And the students wrote it. They were well vested in the process. They wrote a good final. I did find it somewhat difficult
As the
professor.
and grader.
And grader. I took it and I found it difficult. I got all of them correct, but let me tell you, I had to really grapple over some of the questions, and I go, oh, it could be this, it could be that. What did we talk about? So it was very well done. I was very excited. Now, this was a graduate class.
Okay.
Let me tell you that this was not undergrad. This was graduate. So these individuals came with talent and skills and knowledge, beyond me, in that in their specialties. Okay. And they wrote a very, very good final. So I was really happy with that. Anyway, I'm talking too much. Moving on. Created innovation. I hope that I created innovation with them. And again, that final exam is an example. I also have another example, which I won't go through because I will be filibustering at that point. So I'll just move on. I hope I gave my students and myself pause as to learn how to listen, think, and then speak. I hoped as a university professor, I helped my students grapple with the material we were covering and stretch their and my understandings to new heights as we learned about leadership, communication, project management, and marketing. As a leader, being in charge of individuals, I hoped that my contributions, and this is a hard one for me,
all right,
as well as have all of them learned and will learn that just because you are the boss, not everybody's going to like you.
Yes.
Not everybody's going to trust you. Not everybody's going to respect you. Not everybody's going to want to work for you. Just because you're the boss doesn't mean that you walk in and everything is hunky-dory. It is not. And anybody who believes that, wow, let me say that again. Yeah. Not everyone's going to like you.
and you will eventually learn that. Yes. The hard way or the soft way.
Exactly. Yes. So as that leader, I hope that I challenged those who worked with me and for me, to include me, to become ever learners.
Ever learners.
Ever learners. Yes. I hope that I encouraged those around me and myself to hone in on our own self-efficacies. I hope that I gave each of us, to include myself and especially myself, the ability to take witness of our actions and honestly dissect them to see if what we could have done and can do better. I hoped that I helped others stretch themselves to heights they did not think possible, as people have done to me. I hoped that I helped me stretch myself to look past blame and engage those involved in the process to get it back on track using the problem as the problem, not the individuals involved.
Mm.
I hoped that I gave my teams the excitement and energy to know that I had their backs and yet still holding them and myself accountable, giving them enough support and answers to let them make things happen in the workplace that keeps us moving forward, if not ahead of others on a project or project journey or project to project journey.
Mhm.
The last one, I hope I left the openness for communication, respect, and trust between all of us. So as a leader, I tried to do that. Now, some individuals didn't like me because they thought I was being nosy and wanted to see what they were doing. So, and maybe I was going to say that they weren't doing enough. But I typically go into every place and I want to learn. I want to know what you're doing, because I don't know how to do this. You're the specialist. I want to know why you do it, when you do it, and who you're doing it for, and all those kinds of things. And it's not to be nosy and to see if you are slighting the job. I want to just know so that if someone asks me, what do your people do? I can honestly tell them what they do, why they do it, when they do it, who they do it for, and what they're expecting the product or the process to materialize, to be successful, how they measure success. If I don't know that, I can't answer those questions. And I got to tell you, I've been looking at a lot of congressional hearings, and
Mm.
directors have been taken to task that they don't know what's happening. And I go, ooh, bad on you. But anyway, so that's what I have for leaders. I will get to the individuals, and I will get to followers later. But please, let's go back to you. I've taken up way too much time.
Oh, I don't think so. I'm going to give another quote and talk more about it. This is an American writer, David Eddings, who said, "I get up at an unholy hour in the morning. My workday is completed by the time the sun rises. I have a slightly bad back, which has made an enormous contribution to American literature."
Mm.
So while he's tongue in cheek about his enormous, I assume he's tongue in cheek about his enormous contribution, what I drew from this is similar to a Chinese fortune, which is eating bitterness is good fortune, or a Chinese saying. And basically, sometimes when something bad is ongoing in our life or has happened in our life, it creates an opportunity to make the greatest contribution.
Oh,
And that has to do with the process. And there are lots of different names for it, going from trauma to growth.
okay.
There are a couple names. Post-traumatic growth is one that was new to me, the theory of transforming trauma. Trauma resilience, which is slightly different because resilience is about having a personality that bounces back. Post-traumatic growth is more about growing through the pain as opposed to just bouncing back from it.
Okay.
But it leads on to different forms of psychological definition. Some call it the science of giving. Some call it the psychology of giving. But essentially, once you are able to accept the pain, the trauma, whatever, and are able to give back, you are in a unique position to be able to contribute more than someone who hasn't had that experience. For instance, a teenager might, if you're a counselor of teenagers, you might hear the saying, "I want to know who you are before I want to know what you have to say," or "I want to know that you care before I hear what you want to say."
I like
And
that.
I'm not saying that right, but I'm not going to focus on that. I want to talk about how once you've gone through that acceptance, either through your own development or with a counselor or therapist, the outcome can be what's called helper's high. And that is helping others triggers the brain's pleasure centers and releases endorphins, which is the body's natural morphine, if you will. We've talked about this a lot before.
Yes, we
But
have.
according to neuroscience, helping can release oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine, boosting your mood and blocking the stress hormone cortisol. So it's also known as, in a website called realizedworth.com, the pathway to personal joy. There are chemicals released by helping. And I guess the whole point of this is that sometimes the worst things that happen to us afford us the chance to contribute the most. So thank you.
I like that. I really like that. And I was
Yeah.
sitting thinking, and I'm looking post-traumatic growth,
Right.
helpers high. It's just,
Yes.
wow. Yes, I
Yeah.
love those.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sheila, this is why I love doing this with you. I learned so much
As do
from
I.
my own research. I learned a lot from you. And as Xavier would say, you make us sound good. So thank you.
Well, that's very kind, Dwayne. But let's go
Yes.
on to your next point because we're at
Oh,
however many
we're
minutes.
at 20 minutes and 33 seconds. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I'll try and make this fast. So what we as individuals can do to contribute on the job, all right?
Hmm.
And I think you can spill some of this over to our personal lives, but on the job. And first, let me say this. This comes with a huge dose of trust
Mm.
and respect.
Yes.
And it is presupposed we need to be the poster child, whether we are a leader, a follower, a worker, or whatever. We need to be the poster childs in any role we hold of honesty, integrity, accountability, and responsibility. We have to do that.
Mhm.
And if we don't do any of those, all the rest of this stuff that I've said is just, we ought to just throw it away in the trash can because it means nothing. All right. So integrity, honesty, accountability has to be first and foremost in our thoughts and minds, in our activities. Anyway, here we go.
Okay.
So take pride in everything we do on the job. I don't care if you are the whiteboard eraser, the person who goes around and washes all the whiteboards. Take pride and do it to the best that you can. Participate in the discussion that keeps the job moving forward. Don't just sit back and be the naysayer or the I don't like this. Bring up in discussion. Talk about it. Tell people why you dislike it. Let them help you possibly find a way where you can say, "Oh, I didn't see that point." Okay, I'm filibustering here, so let me go back. Hold those around us accountable. Everybody hold each other accountable. And I think we all know what that means. If you're on a baseball team and the shortstop keeps making errors, you guys got to get on the shortstop or either tell the coach, replace them because that person is not helping the team. Keep everybody accountable. Step up when help is needed. Oh my goodness. Step up when help is needed. How easy can that be? Stretch our own comfort zones. Provide feedback, say no and tell them why. Say yes and tell them why.
I like that.
Don't take negative feedback of your ideas personally because there may not be time, dollars, or things to do everything you want to do. They might be saying, "Oh, let's table this until the next time this happens," but don't take that personally. And then don't say, "Well, I'm not going to contribute anymore. I'm going to give you only 50%." No, give 100% every time. Remember to genuinely say thank you. It goes a long way. And if you don't believe that, go back to the time when you expected a thank you and it never came. And in fact, if it did come, it landed on someone else that you know who had no business getting the credit, much less the thank you. And what was your ambition, or what was your excitement to continue to do the next job? It's not there. God, remember that. Smile. Let others see a positive, a way out of a stressful situation, a warming feeling that hope is still alive. Without hope, why do we do things? My last one on the individuals, reward. Let the rewards match the level of activity. And yes, that reward could sometimes be just that thank you that we just talked about. And it's so easy. It is. I'm on a soapbox. Oh my goodness.
I know, but it's a good one.
Okay, back to you, and then I'll get to my followership here in a sec. We're at 24, so please go ahead.
I'm actually not going to talk about one other topic. I'm going to actually give a closing quote here, not a closing for the show, But wrapping up mine, first of all, my new words are ever learner. Thank you for that one. I love how you've mentioned respect in each of the categories you've been talking about so far. But the last one I want to say is Winston Churchill's, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give.
Yeah, yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So,
And again, that goes back to some of the things that we have all learned, but other people still don't get it. They still don't see
well,
that.
and I need to sometimes be reminded to practice this. And so, one piece of advice I read about was that every year, pause and evaluate the ways we are giving and determine, are they still impactful? Are they making a difference? Do they fit with our mission for ourselves? And if the answer is no, sometimes the best way to contribute is by stopping to contribute, if that's a little backwards. So,
I like that. Okay. I'm just going to do two of these.
yes. Okay.
As a follower, I hope my contributions helped others see that I was giving my all, and they in return stepped up their skill set to reach heights that we did not know we could reach as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Last one, I wanted to be the go-to guy. I've said that earlier. I wanted to be the go-to guy. And so how do I do that? I practiced, I read, I learned from others. I learned from those doing the work. I went and I searched out their roles, and I learned what they were supposed to do, what I was supposed to do. I stretched myself. I helped myself, or I held myself accountable every time. And I embraced responsibility, meaning if I was in charge of the group, because I was the team lead or whatever that was, if we failed, it was my fault. It was my fault because I didn't do everything I could as that team lead to get the team ready to do the things that we needed to do. And this is as a follower. Even being a follower on a team, I thought if our team failed and I knew that we could have done something better somewhere and I didn't say anything, that's on me. Not that person, because maybe that person didn't know. I'm looking at the clock, 27:12. Oh, my goodness. Time just goes by. Can I give the answer to my trivia question?
Please do.
What is the best way to contribute to the team goals? It is communicate effectively. Keep each team member informed and involved, as this eliminates ambiguity and ensures everyone is working in sync.
I love it.
I turn it over to you.
I want to thank you, Wayne. We could, as you say, talk about this forever,
Yes.
but we won't. Don't worry, listeners. We'll stop now, and I just want to thank you for all that you contribute to make this a rich experience for me, Wayne. And we thank everyone who's listening for giving us your time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Sheila.
Thank you, Wayne.